Hey everybody, it's Mr. Wells here. I'm recording from home this evening because um, I was having trouble with the internet this afternoon at the school. I think it's because all the teachers trying to record lessons, things for you, trying to get you an education, all at the same time. But I want to make sure and get this video out there so we can finish the close reading unit. I posted on Google Classroom that there is a test this coming Wednesday. You have to get online and you have to take it. The test is coming up on Wednesday, October 14th. Wednesday, October 14th at 1:30 p.m. And you'll log on to Google Classroom, you'll get on a Google Meet, and you'll take the test with Miss Torres supervising you. So most of you have done that before, and you're going to do that. I want to also mention, by the way, book talks are coming up too. We're going to do those on a Google Meet on this Thursday at 1:30. So you need to put those on your calendar. Make sure that you're doing it. And if you can't make those dates, then you need to get a hold of me. You need to email me somehow and tell me that there's a conflict and make other arrangements, because otherwise you're just responsible for being there when we're going to do it. Well, we've been talking about close reading, and close reading is when we read something to really analyze it and understand it. And we've been talking about that, um, and what we look at are things we call signposts, which are clues that the author gives you to tell you something about the story. And if you remember, we talked so far about 5 signposts. There's 6 total, and we're going to do the 6th tonight. But we started out by talking about contrast and contradiction. Contrast and contradiction, that's when a character says or does something that you don't expect. And whenever you're reading and you see that, you want to stop and ask yourself, why is the character acting this way? The second signpost was the aha moment. The aha moment is when the character realizes something that he or she has never thought of before. When the character realizes something he or she has never thought of before, that's called an aha moment. And whenever we see it, we want to stop and ask ourselves, how might this change things? How might this change things? The third signpost we did was called tough questions. In tough questions, the character asks himself a difficult question. That's the definition. When a character asks himself a difficult question, that's called a tough question. And whenever we see a tough question, we want to stop. We want to ask ourselves, uh, what does this make me wonder about? What does this make me wonder about? In other words, usually one question leads to other questions. What questions are we asking? What does this make me wonder about? The next signpost that we did were called words of the wiser. Words of the wiser. That in that signpost, we have an older character taking the main character aside and giving her advice. An older character taking the main character's side and giving her advice. We call that words of the wiser. And whenever we see that, we want to stop and ask ourselves, what's the life lesson, and how might this affect the character? We stop and ask, what's the life lesson, and how might this affect the character? Now, the last one we did was called again and again. Again and again is when a word, object, phrase, or situation repeats itself. Again and again is when a word, object, phrase, or situation repeats itself. And whenever we see that, we want to stop, and we want to ask, why does this keep happening? Why does this keep happening? Well, today we're going to do the last signpost, and we're going to be looking at a story called Hope Was Here. It's by Joanne Bauer, and the story Hope Was Here, we're going to be looking at a signpost called Memory Moment. Wait a minute, I hear my oven beeping. That means the chicken nuggets are done cooking. Give me just a second. I'll give you a second to pause the video and get the story up. It's posted here. It's posted on your classroom along with this video. We're going to start reading it in a second. Just a second. Okay, so I'm back now, and by this point you should have the story up. Hope was here. Hopefully you have your notice and note log up too, because we're going to be making some notes in that. But the signpost we're talking about is memory moment. Memory moment is this, and I want you to write down memory moment, and I want you to write down the definition. When the author stops the action of the story to share a memory. When the author stops the action of the story to share a memory, that is a memory moment. And so, in TV or movies, a lot of times this is called a flashback. Some of you watch the old 80s and 90s sitcoms where, the character stands there and says, I remember when, and then all of a sudden the screen goes, and then you see a memory. Okay. Well, that's what happens sometimes in stories too when we're reading them. All of a sudden, the narrator stops the action and says, I remember when this happened, and takes it back. So, whenever we see that happen in a story, we want to stop and we want to ask ourselves the question, why might this memory be important? Why might this memory be important? Now, in your life and my life, there are a lot of things that we think are coincidences. Things that just sort of happen for no apparent reason. But that never happens in a story, because author only has a limited amount of words to tell you something. So whenever he takes the time to actually share a memory, that means there's some importance there to it. It's important for some reason, but we want to think about why. We want to try to figure out why this memory is important. Okay, so we're going to be reading a story, Hope Was Here, and it's a book about a teenage girl named Hope, and she's getting ready to move. And the thing about it is that it's not her first move. She's moved before. I don't know if any of you have ever moved somewhere, if you moved from one school district to another, but if you have, you probably know that it wasn't easy. Usually a move's not easy because you leave your friends behind, because when you come to a new place, you don't know how it's going to be. There's a lot of fear sometimes with moving, sometimes excitement too, but a lot of it is just the unknown. So let's see what Hope, that's her name here, let's see how Hope goes. We walked across the street. Now hold on. Remember, we're looking for memory moments when the author stops the action of the story to share a memory. We walked across the street to the old Buick that was packed to the hilt with everything we owned and had a U-Haul trailer chained to the back. It was May 26th. We were heading to Mahoney, Wisconsin to start work in a diner there that needed a professional manager and cook. Addie was short on waitresses, me, and was giving us an apartment. The man we were going to work for had been diagnosed with leukemia and needed help fast. I don't mean to sound ungenerous, but working for a close to dying man didn't sound like a great career move to me. I had to leave school right before the end of my undistinguished sophomore year, too. I hate leaving places I love. We were about to get into the car just as Morty the cab driver double parked his yellow taxi. Good old Morty. The first time I waited on him, he unloosened his belt a notch before he even looked at the menu. I knew I had a true believer. I raised my hand to a great tipper. You always took care of me, kid. He shouted this from across the street as a UPS truck started honking at him to move his cab. I tried, Morty. Wherever you go, you'll do okay. You got heart. The UPS driver screamed something heartless at Morty, who screamed back, Watch your mouth, big man in a brown truck. I didn't know what kind of customers I'd get in Wisconsin. Okay, so what do you think the memory moment here is? Take a minute. If you have to pause the video, you can do that. Just look and see what you think the memory moment is. Well, if you said, good old Morty, first time I waited on him, if that was the paragraph, then you'd be right. That's a memory. She stops the action of the story and goes back and tells a memory about the first time she waited on Morty, the cab driver. Okay, so the way you want to put that in your notice and note log is you want to put the location. Now, some of you have been tempted, because I've been looking at some of your notice note log location. You're tempted to put like on the street, like where it was located in the story. But on the log, what we're looking for is like paragraph number. Okay, so you'd put in this case, you'd put something like page 1, uh, paragraph 5. Page 1, paragraph 5. Good old Morty. And then on the second column, what signpost it is, you're going to put memory moment. Memory moment is a signpost that we're doing here. And then on the third column, my notes about it. Well, you can put the paragraph, good old Morty, or she had a memory of Morty. But then you need to tell something a little bit more about it. You need to stop and ask the question, why might this be important? So I want you to think about that for a minute. Why might this memory about Morty be important? Well, if you said, he believed in her. He believed in her. If you said something about, that it was the first customer she had, and maybe she was wondering if she'd have good customers like him. Maybe she considered him a friend, and she wondered, am I going to have friends? Or maybe she's thinking she's moving. She's thinking, will I ever see Morty again? There's all kinds of things she could be thinking, and there could be all kinds of reasons why this memory might be important. Maybe he plays a part later on in the book. You don't know. But you're making an educated guess about why you think this memory is important. So go ahead and write that down in your notice and note log as well. All right, let's read the second section here together. She grabbed my hand and gave it a squeeze. Addie never promised that life would be easy, but she did promise that if I hung with her, the food would be good. Believe me when I tell you, I know about survival. I was born too early and much too small. 2 pounds and 5 ounces. For the first month of my life, I kept gasping for air, like I couldn't get the hang of breathing. I couldn't eat either. Couldn't suck a bottle. The doctors didn't think I would make it. Shows what they know. My mother didn't want the responsibility of a baby, so she left me with Addie, her older sister, and went off to live her own life. I've seen her exactly 3 times since I was born, when she visited on my 5th, 8th, and 13th birthdays. Each time she talked about being a waitress, what made a good one, great hands and personality. What were the pitfalls, crazed cooks, and being on your feet all day? What was the biggest tip she ever got? $300 from a plumber who had just won the instant lottery. Each time she told me, Hun, leaving you with Addie was the best thing I could ever done for you. You need constance in your life. She had a different hair color each time she said it. Addie's been my number one constant. Because of this, I don't buy into traditional roles. My favorite book when I was little had pictures of baby animals like foxes and lambs and ducklings who were being raised by other animals like dogs, geese, and wolves. Addie said it was our story. All right, so I want you to find two. I want you to find two, and there's more than that. There's 3 or 4 in here, probably, if you look. 2 memory moments. Well, what would they be? Well, I don't know. One of them might be when she goes back to when she was first born. Tells how small she was when she was born. Okay, so you could put the paragraph number for that, but that it was on page 2 at the top if you want, or something like that. And then, but memory moment, and then in your notes about it, try to say, why is this memory important? I mean, what was she trying to say here? Maybe she was trying to say, she's very small. She's a small person in a big world. It's a big world out there. She's moving to a new place and she's scared. Or maybe, on the other hand, she's making another point. Maybe she's saying, even though I was small, I survived. And so I know I can survive anything. I can survive this move and things are going to go okay. Maybe that's what it is. But whatever you think, that's what you're going to put there in your own words. Another one here might be she talks about seeing her mom. How many times had she seen her mom in her whole life? 3 times. 3 times. So in your notes about it, you put, why might this memory be important? Do you think her mom was a big influence on her life? Some of you probably say no because she's only seen her 3 times in her life. It is more of her aunt, Addie, who was influence, was a constant on her life. And that may be. And maybe that was the point of the memory. But on the other hand, think about this. What does Hope do? What is her job? I mean, she's a student. She's a sophomore in high school. But what else does she do? She's a waitress. And what was her mom? She was a waitress too. So do you think her mom had more influence on her than you think? All these things are ideas. These are things you could put on there when you're thinking about the story and thinking, why is this memory important? So I want you to put 2 down from this section there, and you might have found other ones too. One about her book that she used to read when she was a little kid, maybe. 2 of those down there, and make sure you're saying something about why you think the memory is important. Okay, before my chicken nuggets get cold here, let's do the last section here. See what you can find. I stared out the window as the Buick roared west to whatever. Harrison Beckworth McCoy, my best male friend at school, had given me a goodbye present, and I was opening it now as Addie pushed the Buick through Ohio. Inside the box was a small glass prism that caught the sun. A hand-printed note from Harrison read, "New places always help us look at life differently. I will miss you, but won't lose you." Harrison was always saying sensitive things like that, which put him instantly on Jocelyn Lindstrom's male sensitivity chart. He was the only male either of us knew who had made the chart consistently over 12 months. Donald Respighi, who occasionally said sensitive things like "nice sweater," had been on twice. Enter memories, sweet and sour. Harrison baked me enormous mocha chip cookies for the high school bake sale and having them stolen on the Lexington Avenue subway. Harrison's African fighting fish, Luther, who ate Chef Boyardee ravioli without chewing. Harrison reading my mother's photocopied annual Christmas letter that she sent out to family and friends. Dear friends. She'd cross out friends and write Addie and my little tulip. Harrison commenting that motherhood should be like driving a car. You should have to pass a test before you get to do it legally. I held the prism up to the light. The sun hit it and showered colors through the windshield. Now isn't that something, Addie said, smiling at the sight. Yeah. I looked out the window, trying not to cry. Okay. So where is it at? Where's the memory moment here? It gives it to you. Yeah, when she says, enter memories, sweet and sour, and she starts talking about Harrison. So there on your entry, you're going to put last page, line 1, and then you're going to put memory moment for the signpost. And then on your notes about it, you can put memories about Harrison or enter memories, sweet and sour, or something like that. And then put why you think these memories are important. So go ahead and put that. Put something about Harrison. I mean, that's what the memories are about, right? Why was Harrison important to her? I mean, he was her best male friend, right? He was very sensitive to her, even more sensitive than the guy that said nice sweater. Um, what was important about this? Well, once again, she's moving to a new place. Will she ever have a friend like Harrison? Who knows? Okay. So something like that is what you're going to put there. Okay. So that makes 4 entries that you put on your notice and note log here. What I want you to do for your homework here is I'm also going to attach the Hatchet again. That we read excerpts from the Hatchet a while back when we were doing Again and Again. But I want you to reread the first page, just the first page of the Hatchet. And there I want you to find a memory moment. Okay? You'll be able to find it. There's one good, clear memory moment on that first page, and I want you to go through and find it, and I want you to mark it in your notice and note log. Now remember, when you get to my notes about it, I want you to really think and really put what your ideas about why you think this memory is important. One last reminder, we do have the test on close reading. As soon as possible, I'm going to post the study guide for the test. But Wednesday, 1:30 is the test, and you've got to be ready for it. All right, you've got to be ready for it, and you need to make arrangements. If for some reason you can't be there at 1:30 on Wednesday, you need to email me right away so we can set up a different time. Okay. All right. Well, have a great day. I'm going to go eat my chicken nuggets now. Got to decide what kind of sauce I want on them. I'm thinking honey. I like pure, 100% pure honey on mine. Although I like to mix barbecue and ranch dressing on mine too. But hopefully you have a good evening as well and good rest of your week. And thanks. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, turn on your notifications so you can see all my videos. We don't want COVID to go viral, but we do want my videos to go viral. Peace out. Talk to you later.